Hello everyone, my name's Kevin Tate with Learn a Trade, Learn a Trade channel, and also with Alpha Equipment Repair. I'm just making this video today to go over some protocol that service technicians should always adhere to. There's times when service techs sometimes let their emotions get to them, and in certain situations, and whether it's your own business, whether it's your own service business, or you're working for a service company, you always want to maintain your cool and maintain your professionalism, because you are a professional working on commercial food equipment, or working on HVAC systems or refrigeration systems, whatever it may be that you're working on. I think it's important that as a service technician that you maintain your professionalism in any situation. You'll run into situations where say a customer is not happy with the work you've done, or you've done a job and say something else happens to that same piece of equipment. It may be something different, but always, if you worked on that piece of equipment and something happens in say a 7-Eleven store, and the same equipment breaks down again, they're always gonna, from the very start, they know that it was you that worked on it last, so it's going to be your fault. That's a normal thing in this business. So, when you go into these stores, first thing you should do is always identify yourself. Identify yourself as far as what company you're with, what equipment you're there to work on, and if they and at times you'll go into a certain location, say it's a store, because we're talking about commercial food equipment mainly, and refrigeration and HVAC. But if you go into a store, most times a customer will have another problem that's going on that they didn't call in. And a lot of times nowadays in this corporate world, you, as a service tech, you have to have them. They have to call that call in. So, say if you're going to work on a coffee brewer issue first, and then they say, "Oh, I got a problem with my cooler." Well, you have to, mention to them that they have to call that in while you're there on site. And this is important because in most cases in this corporate system now, everything is logged in. Everything's electronic. So most times, if you're working for a company, you're going to have an iPad or a laptop that you have to link into the main dispatch and clock in at the site. Once you arrive there, once you arrive in the parking lot, you want to clock in at the site. And then when you get done with the job, you're going to specify the work that you did. You're going to put down that the problem has been solved, or if you need parts that you're going to have to return when the parts arrive. And then you're going to close out that call. You're going to check out. So in order to do this with this check-in and check-out system, it's important that you go and identify yourself first when you're at a customer site, and then let them know what you're there to work on. If they have any additional equipment, always tell them they're going to have to call that in, and then if they do that while you're there, then you can look at it. In some cases, if it's something small, then I would tell them that they need to call it in, but I would take a quick look at it just to see if I had the parts to fix it and stuff like that. And then by the end of the time that you're done working on the original piece of equipment that you were there to work on, then you can tell them, have you called it in yet? Because I can fix that while I'm here. And more than likely, they'll go ahead and do it, since they know that you're going to fix it for them. The other thing is try your best to avoid arguments with the clients or with the customers. It never ends out well for the service technician. You know, if it's at the beginning of your day, it just messes up your whole day with the arguing with the customer that's upset because his equipment's down again, or he's upset because he got billed too much, or he thinks he got billed too much. You always want to try to keep the peace. You know, if it's hard to do it, if the customer is getting in your face, or God forbid, putting his hands on you or anything like that. And by all means, I mean, someone puts their hands on you, you got to protect yourself. So, that goes without saying. But you don't want it to even get that far. But say if customers, really going at you with, yelling or cursing or shouting at you, and you're not really, feeling it. You wanna try and just tell him to calm down. If he doesn't calm down, then you're gonna have to leave, and then he'll have to call someone else. And this is hurting him more so than you. But what you want to do first is, if a customer starts going in on you, politely, excuse yourself, take your tools, whatever you brought in, walk out, go to your truck, go to your van, your car, whatever you're in, and call up your supervisor. Call up your supervisor, call up your boss, whoever. Tell them that the customer's irate, customers not allowing you to get the job done without there being some tension. And in order to keep things calm, you're gonna leave the site. Maybe he could send another technician, or maybe he could call the site himself, and then the boss can explain whatever's going on. If it's a price or whatever, the boss can explain that. You shouldn't have to go through all of that. If you're able to calm it down yourself, then by all means do that. That's good, But you got to get in the habit of not letting them get to you. Not letting customers rile you up to get you, irate. Because you're not going to be able to focus on the job properly, and you're probably not going to repair the equipment properly. So, that's just, a few hints as far as, protocol on handling customer relations. Being a service tech, you're the first, you're the forefront of whatever company you're with. And if it's your own company, if you're a contractor or something like that, you definitely want to make sure that you keep a good rapport with your clientele, with your customers. That's your bread and butter, And if you do get into a real big dispute with one, in this industry, word spreads fast, and that could tarnish your whole business. You might have to go elsewhere, out of the state or something, or you might have to shut down if it gets too bad, because you just won't get the work. So another thing is cleanliness. I see a lot of times, service techs would come in with dirty uniforms or whatever in the morning, and I mean, I understand that you're gonna get dirty doing this job. It's a dirty job at times. You're gonna get dirty. That's understandable. But at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to your first call, and your pants are dingy, your shirt's all stained up and stuff like that, that's not gonna fly. Customers are gonna start seeing that, and they're gonna complain. And when those complaints go up the chain, they're wondering why you have dirty clothes on, and that just creates other issues for you. So you want to make sure you're clean, neat and clean, and always make sure your work area is clean. It's important that the equipment that you're working on most times is dirty. It's covered with dust from being sitting inside the store, and the customer sure doesn't clean their equipment. Very few of my customers that I've seen, very few clean their own equipment. I mean, I can probably count them on one hand that I know they go into their coolers and they empty them out, they clean them. They'll clean the outside, they'll clean the inside. They may not be able to clean the condenser coils or stuff like that. Some of my customers even clean their own condenser coils, and I'm glad that they do that. That makes my job easier. But what you want to make sure that you do is always, before you work on a piece of equipment, always wipe it down. Spray it with some equipment cleaner. Wipe it down good so that your area is clean. Work on the equipment, clean up as you go. Don't leave your tools all over the counters. And by the way, if the health department comes into a site that you're working on and you have tools sitting on the counter near say a coffee brewer, or near a oven, or near a roller grill or something like that, that customer can get fined by the health department because that's unsanitary. Your tools should either be on your own cart that's right next to you on the floor, or your tool bag should be on the floor. And then when you get done with your tools, wipe them down, clean them up, put them back in your bag on the floor. Don't rest them on the counter, or stuff like that. I mean, there's going to be times where you're going to need a tool repeatedly right away. So yeah, if you're working on a oven or a coffee brewer, yeah, you could take your little screwdriver and then you're just going to put it down so you can grab a wrench. Go ahead, put it down on the equipment itself, because you're going to wipe that equipment down again anyway. So go ahead and sit it there, but don't have a bunch of tools sitting all over the counters and stuff like that, because people in these stores like 7-Elevens, Cumberland Farms, ExxonMobil, Sunoco's, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, all of these, I can name them all, but you get the idea. People are these are eating places. They're serving food in these places. They're serving beverages, and you want to make sure that everything that you're doing is sanitary. So you don't want someone coming up while you're working on the equipment, and you gotta, excuse me, let me move my wrench, and let me move this dirty rag that's sitting up here. You want to remove this stuff so it's not even in their way. They don't have to deal with you. All you're doing is focusing on your job on that piece of equipment. They don't have to ask you to move anything or anything like that. I mean, there will be times that you're up on a ladder and working on an ice maker, and then there's probably people that are going to be coming up right beside the ladder, or they'll come up under the ladder because common sense just ain't so common. But you'll be standing on a ladder, and then you'll have people come up under your ladder to get their soda or their juice or their drink and stuff like that. And what you want to do, stuff like that, you can't help that. That's not your fault. But as long as you got your area cleared out, then you're safe. And another thing is, if you're able to do it, block off an area if you think that it might be dangerous for a customer. Get the little orange cones that they have in the stores. You see them sitting around. It'll say wet floor or something like that. Ask the manager if you could take a couple of those just to make a little area so you can work without people coming in and out of your area there. Because you do not want to accidentally drop a tool and someone's up under you and it hit them in the head or it hit them in their hand. Anything like that, it could be a catastrophe for you or for your company, so you don't want that stuff to happen. That's just a small piece of advice on proper etiquette while working in the store, and proper customer relations. You also want to, to keep your rapport with your customer good. You should, always try to explain to them as best you can what you're doing or what you have done to the equipment, so that they can understand what kind of work you've put into it, and they can understand, if there's parts that are needed, you'll be they'll be aware that the parts are needed, and they won't really have too much headache with that unless it's taking too long to get it fixed. But for the most part, you want to keep your communications good with the customer. You want to try to, when you get done with the equipment, if they're busy or whatnot, you want to make sure that the clerk or whoever else is there signs off on the equipment, on the invoice, and you want to give them a copy of the invoice. Then that way, that manager or that owner, he will have a copy of the invoice, and that will specify the work that you've done. And just always try to keep it as positive as you can, because this is your business, this is your livelihood, and you want to keep it right. You want to make sure that your customers are happy. If they're not, you want to try to make them happy if you can. Now there will be some that are just having a bad day and it's not working out. Their attitude is just way off. Maybe something happened to them that day. There's no telling what goes on in people's lives. There's always something going on in our lives. So some of this stuff, you have to blow it off. And, if you can get the job done without too much trouble, then go ahead and get it done, and then just get out of there. And maybe next time when you come back, they'll be in a better mood. They'll be like, hey, I was feeling a little salty about a bill I got, and I'm sorry I gave you attitude or whatever. Then you can be like, that's all right, I understand. Just don't do it again. Stuff like that. But just for example, I had a customer once. Their water had been compromised. There was something that got into their well, some type of chemical or something. So we were called by the state to go shut down the store, shut down their water, and then cap off all of the lines until they could get that well fixed, and then we were going to have to replace all of the equipment. So once they shut down their water, the store they weren't able to sell any fountain soda. They weren't able to sell any Slurpees. They weren't able to sell any coffee. All they could sell was stuff that was in bottles or cans. That was it. So that cuts out half of their business, a good portion of their business. So I get to the store and I'm going in to shut them down, and the manager said, well, we were told that we would have 24 hours before you shut us down. And I said, no, this was called in as an emergency, a priority one, and it must be shut down. So I'm going to have to shut down all of the water coming in. I'm going to cap off all of the lines going to your brewers, and I'm going to shut down all of the water going to the Slurpee and the soda machines. And the manager just got irate, okay? And I'm not going to use all of the language on this video, but you can get the idea. She was just like, well, just go do your effing job. That's what she said. So I said, wait a minute, there's no need for you to use that tone of language with me. I'm just here to do my job. And she said it again, well, just go do your effing job. So from that point, I was also having a bad day too. So So instead of getting into it with her, I told her, you know what, I'm gonna leave, and then somebody else will come back, or maybe I'll come back later. And she said, wait a minute, you got to do this job. I said, no, I don't. Not with you talking to me like that. So I got into my van. I walked out, got into my van. She had a few choice words while I was leaving, but that's all right. I called up my boss. I told him what the deal was, and he told me to hold on. And he went on the other line. He called and spoke with that same manager over the phone. Asked her what was going on, why she was, cursing at the technician, and then she started cursing at my boss also, telling him to have me to get my ass back in there. So I said, I'm holding on the phone, and then my boss he comes back over to me, and he says, Kev, you know what? Go ahead and leave. Go to your next job, and the state's gonna go ahead and close down the whole store until the building is clean again, until the water's clean. So that lady, basically, because of her attitude and not letting me do my job properly, and because I handled it in a professional way, I didn't go off on her. I didn't go off that much back at her, but I did say a little something, but after she had initiated it. So that's how it is. But I did walk out, and I called my boss, and then we straightened it out. And then that lady, she ended up losing her job because of the way she handled, her position. And that's just a little example of, you try to keep a good rapport with people, and, so they can get to know how you are, and they know what you're going to take and what you're not going to take. And if they go over the line, then they understand. So, that's just my little info video for today with Learn a Trade channel. And, I wish you the best of luck. I hope this helps you in your journey on getting into the service field. And, feel free to play this over, take notes and stuff like that. Hit me up at my email, learnatrade4u. That's learnatrade, the number 4, the letter U, at gmail.com with any questions or comments, or even if you have some other topics that you would like me to touch on. Feel free to send me an email or send a comment at the bottom of this video. And I look forward to doing these videos with the intention of helping those who want to help themselves. Okay, so take care, stay blessed, talk to you soon.